Hello everyone, Ace here. Just going to do a video about my Radiolink RC4GS controller. Now, I bought this controller back in November 2018, and I just now got around to making a video because I haven't actually been able to run my RC that much with it to check it out to see if it was any good. And it's more of a budget-friendly controller. It comes with a receiver also. I got mine from Amazon. And it's got a ton of different features. It's actually a pretty nice controller for the price. It's a 4-channel controller. It comes with a 6-channel receiver. The receiver, I've got to read a cheat sheet here. I've got everything wrote down. Printout. The receiver that it comes with is the R6FG, which has built-in gyro, which for somebody that is drifting or just doing speed runs on road, it helps a little bit to keep the steering in line, which it is effective. I've used it. I've used this controller on a few different models, like on a 2-wheel drive RC, for instance. When you have all the sliding for the rear end on throttle, it will actually help kind of keep the wheels in line so it doesn't slide out as bad. But we're going to start with this controller. I've actually used this quite a few times now. It's actually a really good controller. It's got a power on switch here in the back. It's got a port here, a micro USB port, which is just to hook to a computer to upgrade the firmware. When you turn it on, it has an LCD screen with a light. Right now I have this set to run on my AceManYT. And this, you can program this remote to work with 10 different receivers, which means you can buy a receiver to put in each one of your RCs, and you could use the same remote to control all 10 of them at separate times. And this thing has a ton of features. Here on the outside, you'll see there's 4 buttons: exit, and then there'll be a minus, a plus, and an enter button. To get into your main menu, you press and hold these 2 buttons here, and there goes your main menu. Now you can scroll through. You notice it has a place where you can program different model, or you can select a model that you're using with this remote. There's your EPA, which is an endpoint adjustment, and this is good if, just say for instance, you have an AceManYT and you're going to let your young child use it. You can go to the throttle forward adjustment, and you can turn it down to 50% or wherever you want it at, 40, 50%, and then you press the enter button and it'll change that setting. So then that means it would only give the car 50% throttle, so it would actually slow the speed down. Then here's your steering adjustment, steering speed, which I've never adjusted any of that. Throttle speed, I've never adjusted any of that. It's got ABS, which is to do with the braking. I haven't used that option. And here's an option for nitro, is idle up. This will increase the idle speed on your nitro to a certain percentage, whatever you want it at. And there's your sub trim, and there's your channel reverse option, the steering, throttle, channel 3, channel 4, and here's the dual rate, and that's to adjust the amount of steering. Mine's set at 100%. Obviously that's normally where you'd want it. Unless you're doing a speed run, you might want to turn it down to 70%, so that way your steering is not so touchy and cause you to wreck. And on this remote, I guess you can mix channels. You can mix channels 3 and 4. That's something I've never had to do. But there's your auxiliary, and there's how you enter the name of the model that you want to use with this remote. You go through these letters and choose, and then here's your gyro, which I have mine on right now, but it's at 0%. I can actually turn it off. And right now I have it set in channel 3 mode. And then there's an option to reset everything, all the options. Now this controller takes 4 AA batteries, or you can use a 2 to 4S lithium-ion battery or lithium polymer battery with a JST connector, which is a little small red connector. The operating voltage from the transmitter is 4.8 volts to 15 volts DC. And you can, the jitter, it says jitter is 0.5 US, which I believe is half a second. But I've seen somewhere else where it has a 12 millisecond time, or a 12 millisecond is the, I don't know, it's between it's the time that it takes the receiver to communicate with the controller, or the controller, it takes it that long to communicate with the receiver. 12 milliseconds, I guess, isn't that bad. I know there are some controllers more higher priced that are 2 milliseconds, and you know, just for a normal person operating an RC, you don't need that kind of response time. I mean, it's not going to make that much of a difference. This controller has 20 decibels of RF power, 67 channels of pseudo-random frequency sequence, which means it's got 67 different channels that it will rotate. It's got a small antenna here that can be flipped up for maximum distance. I've never had to flip the antenna up, and I've ran at least a football field away from this with my Arma Typhon, and I've had no problems ever with the signal loss. Let's see. The only thing that I didn't like about this controller is when I used the AA batteries to power it, it went flat quick. Like, it ran the batteries down fast, very fast. But that's to be expected when you're just running normal alkaline A batteries. Now, if you run a LiPo battery or a lithium-ion battery in here, it'll last quite a while. I use a cheap 1500 milliamp 2S LiPo battery in this, and I don't have any issues. And it has an alarm on the remote. On the screen here on the top, if I can get it to light up so it can be seen. Up here it'll tell you how many volts are in your battery, and there's an alarm you can set up on the remote. So if it gets down to a certain voltage, it will warn you. The remote has an audible alarm. Now let's check out the switches here. Now here is a push button switch, just a click button. That's channel 4 right now is what I have it set as. And here is a rotating knob, which is my channel 3, which is for my gyro. It rotates. And right here is the switch for the steering adjustment. You know, go down or push it up for one way and push it down for the other. This button here, this one controls the throttle. This is the throttle setting here. Then this one here is an auxiliary setting for one of your auxiliary channels, which I've never used it. It hasn't applied to my situation. The controller has a nice feel to it. You know, the grip is nice for, you know, an adult hand. The only problem with this is how much, you know, you see how much of a pull you have for forward, but then for reverse you got just very, very little. That's one thing I didn't like about this design, and I still don't. And the gap, the finger gap here. Now if this button was situated in the center, about like that, you know, it would make it a lot better, a lot easier to control. But I mean, there's always ways, you know, you can melt the reverse button here, kind of push it back a little bit to make it closer, whatever you wanted to do. The wheel here feels very comfortable, and it has a foam padding. It is gold colored. And on the back here, I have no idea what this does or what this is, but it's labeled DSC. I don't know if that's a plug for to wear a headset with it, so you can hear the beeps on the remote, or hear the alarm. I don't know. And I know that the micro USB input here is only for firmware updates to hook to the computer. It will not charge a battery that is installed. And I got this along with the receiver that came with it. For me, it's perfect. It works fine. I've had fun with it. My daughter, she's 8 years old. She's used it, and I've controlled. You know, I can set the throttle to where, you know, it's at 50% for her to use any one of my RCs that this controller is, you know, set up to work with. Right now, it's just set up to use one, and that's the AceManYT 3S BLX. Later on, I'm looking to get, you know, more receivers to put in, you know, more Radiolink receivers. That way I can use this remote for more than one vehicle. And then it's pretty easy to set up once you take it out of the box. You install it in the car. To activate the gyro, first on the receiver, on the end of the receiver, there's a little hole there. You'll stick a small screwdriver or a pin in and push and hold that button, and the green light on here will flash on the receiver. So that means that it is enabled. Actually, it's a red light. The binding light is green. The gyro light is red. So here's just a little information about it. I don't know if you'll be able to read this. This camera's not that great. This is a 6-channel receiver that comes with the remote. I don't believe they sell the remote separately. Now, in order to bind, you put the transmitter and the receiver within, you know, close proximity to each other. Turn on the transmitter, and then power on the receiver. There's a black button on the receiver, which you'll press twice, which is this one here on the end. You'll press it twice within 2 seconds and release. And the light on here, the green light, will start blinking. And then after about 8 times, it automatically will pair. And once it does, you never have to do it again. You never have to bind it, as long as you have it. So here's that. It's just a short video on the Radiolink RC4GS controller and the R6FG receiver. I'll put a link to the product in the description. And if you watch my videos, any of the videos where you see me running the AceManYT, I'll actually have 2 of them. If you see me running my AceManYT, more than likely I'm using this remote. Have a good day, guys. Bye.